What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to ICAV Drivers Edition. I guess what? Something I thought I would never do, but I can't go anywhere right now. And yes, I'm still out traveling. I can't go anywhere right now without getting phone calls, questions. People see me and they want to know, what do I think about the whole fiasco with the #1 dealer, formerly known as Quebec, and how they're handling the Z06 list. For those of you who don't know, I used to work in the car industry. I did it a lot for several years. So I have a true background understanding of how dealerships work. I worked in more than one location, pretty much a lot of Chevy dealerships, dealing with Corvette sales and so forth. Nothing compared to this market. But again, I have an understanding of how dealerships work and why I can give such good insight on what takes place. And so far, I usually haven't been too far off and rarely wrong. And so I don't bash any dealerships, so this is going to be more of an informative video, but let's get right into it. We're talking about what happened with the process of creating a Z06 list at the #1 Corvette dealer in the country. The first thing you have to understand, there was an ownership change. Many people like to believe that when the ownership changed, nothing was going to change. And that's always the common statement given anytime there's a takeover, a buyout, and so forth, or just replace management, that we're not coming in to change anything. But then ultimately, like I told everyone, give them 6 months, you will start to see differences, because everybody has their own viewpoint on how to make money, how to run a business, and what the best practices should be for them. So as we're seeing now, something I thought would never happen from the #1 dealer, but I understand, is how they approach this process. I say that to you is there's a philosophy change. To me, what took place would have never took place at Quebec. I feel like there was no consideration to give to anyone that showed up in person, which to me was wrong. How would you go about it? It's easy to talk about it after the fact. I don't know the process they use, but to me, because they made it seem or appear that if you showed up in person, it would be more of a benefit than sitting online doing a wire transfer. But what we're starting to see right now is the wire transfers has dominated the list, or at least from what people are showing online in these groups and forums and so forth out there placed in line, is that those that did wire transfers pretty much got better placing. Most dealerships, they afloat and they make their money all for service, not car sales. I know it's hard to believe. Most people don't even think about it like that. They think since they sell cars, car sales has to be the way they make all their money. And really it's not. It's the servicing. The service department is what keep dealerships open. That's why you can go to several lots today that look like ghost towns, and yet the dealership is still open, although they really don't have an inventory. It's because the service department is what's keeping the doors open. But the service department and sales department go hand in hand, because if you don't sell cars, you don't really keep or create a clientele to come back to utilize the service department. Well, in this process, what I'm sitting there seeing is that there was kind of a misleading statement made, or made people feel like if they showed up in person, they would get some form of consideration versus those people that decided to wire transfer from an online source. And I find that very interesting, because I don't feel like the old ownership would have did something similar to that nature. And I'll touch bases on that in a second. So I feel like the new philosophy was, which is probably new ownership, is that if you are flying in from Chicago, Texas, Ohio, Detroit, Hawaii, California, New Mexico, Arizona, it doesn't really matter. Because when I get money or I sell a car off an online source to a person from Chicago, Texas, Arizona, Ohio, Nebraska, California, Hawaii, wherever they come from. It's still a customer that's buying a vehicle and not coming back to get it serviced. So why would they give you priority over another customer that's going to pretty much be the same boat? And I think that was a huge philosophy change from the original Quebec. I felt like the original Quebec valued their customers more. I heard so many people talk about Quebec before the C8 were going there and purchasing vehicles. They always talk about, we had these long-term relationships, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And then even when you sat there and watched the videos from people that were outside of I hope I'm saying right, Ciocca, is that many of them said, oh, I've bought cars from here before and this is the only place I'll go. They're the best dealer in the country. And this was before they got shafted. And I say they got shafted because I sit back and from what I can get information on, don't know how true or false it is, but I'm going to comment on it anyway. When you sit back and there's a person, I think that was either number 63 or number 67, they say they got inside the dealership just after 12:40. So that looks like they're getting to like maybe 1.5 customers or just over 1 customer per minute, which is crazy because they had 10 tables. Well, I mean, 10 people taking orders from what I've heard. So they were number 63 or 67. Let's just say they were in the 60s. And they went in, placed their order. They had a timestamp on their order before 12:52, but they said they went in just after 12:40. So apparently this process took about 5 to 10 minutes to get done. Now, once they took their 5 or 10 minutes and made the process go through, and what they thought they had secured a first-year Corvette or a first-year Corvette Z06, what ends up happening is now a week later, or technically 10 days later, because they said on the 2nd they will notify people on the 12th. So 10 days later, this person says they've gotten an email asking for more money down, which I have an issue with that, but many people don't, whatever, and more money down, and their spot, it's in the thousands. They're like above 1,500. So my question to you is, this person camped out, sat outside, waited in the line, so forth, only to be number 62 or 63 on a list in the order at the dealership, and you get number 1,500. So that tells me up front you were not prioritized, and they allowed, because there wasn't 1,500 people in front of you at the dealer, they allowed so many internet customers to line skip and jump. And so now what you're seeing is Ciocca priority was the internet. They didn't care about face-to-face interaction. They didn't care about their loyal customers who came in to see them face-to-face, to talk to their salesmen, see the actual staff, say, hey, what's up? And I want to get a Z06, which to me, that's part of the problem. Many people criticize going to their local dealer or other dealers and so forth. And even with me, I've been in touch with the dealer I got my car from, and we've been talking behind the scenes, so we'll see how that goes. But my point is, I have a relationship with them. Ciocca did not value any relationships with their customers. I feel like the only reason you can truly do that is because although in your mind as a customer, you feel like you have a history, the new owners just took over. They have no history or relationship with you. So what you thought was a relationship, you just found out wasn't. Now I'm interested to see how some people actually play out with this, but what you thought wasn't. So the one thing that they did, although many people said they're not going to change, they're going to be the same, just like Quebec, they told us they were going to do this, this, and this, is their business practices was the first thing that changed. And that's usually what happens when you get new owners or new management, is despite what many people believe, their business practices change because people have a different idea or different way of handling business and believe that their way is better, even though their predecessors may have had a system that worked. I've experienced it in my current career field. I've experienced it in past jobs, and I'm not criticizing it because time does guarantee one thing, that things will change. So Now you're seeing that. Now, the second thing I want to bring up about this whole process is people flock to Ciocca because they were the number one dealer, or they are the number one dealer in the country. So let's touch bases on that. You're the number one dealer in the country, and as you see, they've gotten over 5,000 requests for a Z06. I hate to break the bad news to people. They probably will never see 5,000 brand new Z06s. Probably 80% of you people, if not at least 70, will never see a car from Ciocca brand new. Sorry to break the news to you. And with that being said, I felt like their process was handled wrong. Why do I say it was handled wrong? I sat here trying to figure out how they could make this a fair process, and my thoughts were originally do a 5-to-1, but I felt like a 3-to-1. And what I mean 3-to-1, I felt like for every 3 people that stood outside, since you open up registration at 12 o'clock, for every 3 customers outside, 1 customer from online should have been given an opportunity to get a car. Well, this is my philosophy. I'll break it down. So for the first 15 minutes, you go a 3-to-1. 3 people that stood outside, 1 customer that was on the internet. Once you hit the 12:15 mark from your outside customers, you shift to a 1-to-1 until you get rid of all your wire transfers. Meaning 1 online customer, 1 outside customer waiting, 1 online customer, 1 outside customer waiting. You go to a 1-to-1 until you get rid of all your wire transfer customers that submitted wire transfers that you received funds from up until 12:15. Once you hit the 12:15 mark, shift back to your in-person customer list and see where you're at. If you're at timestamp 1:15, I say for the next 30 minutes, do a 2-to-1. 2 people that waited outside to 1 person on the internet. And you do that until you get to the, let's just say 1:15 was where we left off at, until you get to the 1:45 timestamp customer. Once you hit 1:45 timestamp customer, you go back to a 1-to-1 and then finish out your list. Because to me, that's fair. That's giving the customer that stood outside, who flew across country, or however you want to look at it, priority, or at least recognizing what they did to try to earn your business. So that to me would have been a good philosophy to adopt and address when creating your list. Now, honestly, I have no idea how they created their list, because as I sit back and watch the emails unfold, people post their numbers. Some people are online, some people aren't. There is no true way to say this makes any sense other than they took everybody from 12:15 with a 12:15 stamp, threw it in a bag, shook it up, and then pull line spots. Which, if that's what you did, announce it. And I feel like that would be fair, but you would have more online customers than you would for people standing outside, which again will to most create an issue, because I feel like the people that came to see you, your repeat customers, should have had some form of priority. That's just me. Can't tell you how to run your business. And as we see, we're still waiting to hear some official way of how they're doing their selections, but that's what happened. So at this point, people are upset. 70% of the people that gave deposits aren't going to get a car. There are people hoping that the additional $3,000 down, which I have a problem with, is going to weed out customers. The reason why I have a problem with the $3,000 down, I know we're not going to agree on this, because if it helps you get a car, you think it's the great philosophy ever. The reason why I have an issue with it is because you're selling me a car at MSRP. So there is no extra markup. In this current time, if you have good credit, you financing a Corvette at MSRP is an easy no-brainer, because every bank understands it's the hottest car on the market, and the value for it, even when you walk out the door, is going to appreciate instead of depreciate. I don't have to put down extra money to finance a Z06. It's probably the first car I could legitimately finance, no problem, hands down, zero money down at a dealership. So you asked for $2,000. I gave you $2,000. You turn around and ask me a week later, giving me technically 10 days to come up with $3,000 more dollars. But you say you're being true to the Corvette loyalists. My issue is most of the Corvette owners I know, or a lot of the Corvette owners I know, because it's slowly shifting. The people that truly had C5s, C6s, C7s, and now C8s, they're older people. A lot of them are retired. Some of them are in great financial situation, others not. And this is truly their poor man's supercar. And they want a Z06. So what ends up happening is you start to price them out of the market because they're on a fixed income. So when you say, hey, I need you to put down additional $3,000, that's $5,000 that they've given up in 1 month. I don't know many people on a retired income that aren't somewhat wealthy. And if they are, they usually don't look at Corvettes, that aren't somewhat wealthy that just can afford to give up $5,000 like that. And then you turn around and say, when you get ready to place your order, which is my next concern, is you need to put 10% down. My question is that a total of 10% of what your allocation or your order is, meaning that you add on the difference from the 5,000 to get to 10%? Or are you telling me that if my order, say for instance, is $100,000, I need to add an additional $10,000 on top of the $5,000 I've already given you, making it a total of $15,000 down? That's why I don't like the whole extra money down process, because you're not really weeding out people. You're just hurting some people. And my philosophy is, if you really felt that way, you should have came up with a better system to weed out people before you even opened your doors. So that's why I don't agree with that. But now the big question is, where do you go from here? Because 70% of you people that are on this list at Ciocca, at worst case scenario, would never see a car. So you tell me, are you now willing to pay over MSRP? Are you out dealership scrambling looking for a new dealer? Honestly, I don't know the correct answer to that. Yes, there are several dealers that are going to have small lists that you can get on and get you a car. Myself personally, I'm in limbo because somebody told me that I do stuff for views, and it's not true. But I literally do videos to try to educate people and make people easier to understand the process that happens at dealerships and what goes on. I do it for entertainment purposes. So you may not agree with every video I do, but that's why I do it. And so I've been asked the challenge. I think I'm going to accept it. And the challenge I was asked was, let me take a step back. I was asked the question, do you think if you do not get on anybody's list, you will be able to get a C8 Z06? And my answer was yes. And my answer is yes, because I understand how the car industry works. And I'm not going to tell you that if I get a C8, it won't be over MSRP, because I've made it clear in every C8 video that I've done about a Z06 is that I don't have a problem paying over MSRP. I'm just not paying 50 grand over MSRP. So somebody said, I bet you can't get a Z06 if you don't get on the list. And that's a great challenge. Now, I've been sitting back thinking about this for one or two reasons. And the two reasons I was thinking about it is because ultimately I'm not a true Z06 buyer. And what I mean by a true Z06 buyer is I'm still in limbo and have concerns. So I never had the intention of being like one of the first 300 to 500 people to own a Z06. That was never my intent. My thought was I would be one of the first 6,000 to 7,000 people to own a Z06. And as crazy as that sounds, that's still rare. I have reached out to dealers. Like I said earlier before, I reached out to the dealer I got my C8 from. We haven't been talking crazily, but I know they would help me get a car. The question is just, will it be a 2023, 2024? Because everyone I've spoken to, and I won't share that information because it's a lot of behind closed doors things happening, and that's why I know you can get a car. But everyone I've truthfully spoken to told me that I can get it early 2024, probably in 2023, which I have no issue with that. I don't have to be the first person with a Z06 in 2022. I can wait. But I'm interested in taking on this bet and giving you guys the behind the scenes look at how I actually acquire it. Because then you understand more, or there's no better way to show people all the stuff I tell you, because some people think it's untrue, and how you can acquire a car even if you don't do it what most people think is the traditional way. So I may take that challenge on. I'm still thinking about it. Realistically, I'm probably going to do it anyway, because again, I'm being told a 2024 car. I'm on 2 lists at MSRP, which I laugh at. One of them's at a small dealer, which may be my best shot, although people say small dealers. The dealership legitimately told me that, hey, we probably only see 2 Z06s a year. I am number, I think, 8 on their list, and they believe, and I'm hearing again, they believe they will not see a car for me until probably 2025 or 2026, which, if it is the case, I'm perfectly fine with that, because if I do take on this challenge, I would look to get a Z06 just to get one for the channel. And then when this allocation spot rolls around, if it is 2025, 2026, hopefully any bugs in the system have been worked out, and I will custom order the car I want. That's what I'm thinking right now. So again, where do you go from here? A lot of people that swore they would never pay MSRP, or swore they would never pay over MSRP, are now sitting at home saying $5,000 to $10,000 isn't bad. That dealership is looking very good right now. So either way, let me know what you think of this video. That's my thoughts on what went wrong with the whole Z06 list process at the #1 dealer. Hit the like and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time to the channel, thank you for watching. I appreciate the love. Please like and subscribe to the channel. You can ask me any questions you want. I will try to address them. I may even make a video to help explain it in more detail, so it's not just conversation that can be misinterpreted in text. So, ICMV Driver's Edition. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.